Welcome, Alchemists, to the Akoraverse. It is Stitchboard here on YouTube and Stitch of Games on Instagram. We are going to do a basic how to play Akora. We're going to do a quick basic rundown of the cards, the effects, and the different types of cards, as well as the field setup. We're going to start off with the field setup first. The Alchemy deck, this is your main deck that you draw from. This is one that is going to house your Alchemy cards and your Relic Shards, which we'll get into in just a moment. Right up above is your Akora deck. These are the creatures that you use to attack and defend with. This here is called an Alchemy Zone. The cards from this Alchemy deck will be played here, here, and up in that top left corner, and we'll get to that one in just a second. But the Alchemy cards, they're essentially your spell and trap cards, like a typical TCG. Your Dark Zone is the same thing as other TCGs, which is like the graveyard. This is called the Relic Zone. And this is where your Relic Shards go. Now that you know the basics of the field setup, oh, and as well as you've got your Akora Zone right here. This is where your Akora is going to go, and we'll teach about those in just a second. So first things first, we're going to go over the Relic Shards. The Relic Shards are essentially what you need in order to play your cards. When you start the game, which we'll get into more gameplay in just a moment, but when you start the game, you always want to have one here when you first start the game. When you first start the game as well, you want to have your Stage 1 Akora. Now, Akora, like I said before, these are the main cards for attacking and defending. In the top left corner, it will tell you what the cost is of the card. All of the Akora cards will have something in the corner. Certain cards don't have anything, just that one shard. But down here, this is going to be the type. There are multiple different types, but as it stands right now, we had started off with 8 types in the Spellbound Wings set. We won't go into those types just yet. We'll do that in a different video. This here is the attack. Down in the left corner, this tells you what stage the Akora is. This little crystal down here will only be on these Akora cards. Up in the top right, these are your soul points. We'll get into those in just a second when we set up the field. But your Alchemy deck is going to consist of 41 cards. Your Alchemy deck must, must match the attribute of your Akora. So if you have electric, fire, ice, nature, divine, dark, or you've got the new warped, or any combination of the ones, you have to have the attribute specific for the deck. There are cards called multi-attribute, and that would be this little card right here. This is an Alchemy card. We'll get into the symbols at the bottom in just a second, but when you see the rainbow colors, these cards can be played in any deck as long as the card effect works with the Akora and works with the deck that you are playing with. These here, we have, this will be called the Stage 2. We'll get into that in just a second. In the top left corner, you need to have 3 Relic Shards in the top left corner. When you are playing the game, once per turn, unless you have a card effect that allows you to play more, you can play from your hand, as long as you have one, a Relic Shard. Once you have 3 of them, you can Relic up. So you'll go from Stage 1 to Stage 2. Now keep in mind, when you Relic up, you will not be able to conduct your battle phase. You can still set your Alchemy cards. You can still play what's called the Battle Zone. We'll get into that in just a second. You can still do everything else in the game. You just cannot attack for that turn. The same goes, this is a Stage 3. So now we'll get into a little more of the specifics. So a Stage 3 is down here in the left corner. Typically, the highest Stage 3, I think, in the game so far is 600 soul points. But this one here, it requires 6. So you either have to put one of these each turn for 6 turns, or if you have card effects, you can go ahead and Relic up sooner. Now, keep in mind, you can have a Stage 1 on the field. As long as you have 6 Relic Shards, you can bounce right up to the Stage 3. So keep that in mind. Now, we'll get real quick into the battle. So let's say this is yours, this is your opponent's Akora, okay? Unlike other TCGs, the attack power down here, you see how hers is 1,000 and hers is 500? In the game of Akora, it's quite different than the other TCGs. This attack power will not hit that. Because the Akora cannot be destroyed by battle, any damage that they do is just roll over damage to your opponent's Alchemy Essence. And we'll get into that in just a second. But she has 100 soul points, and she has 250. So when I declare an attack with 500, I will subtract that 250. Instead of doing the 1,000, we are going to subtract the 250 from that, and whatever the difference is, we'll roll over. So in this case, they will take 250 Alchemy Essence damage. Now, with that being said, you start the game off with 6,000 Alchemy Essence. Typically, right now, until the apps come out, you can do it via a calculator. But you can have 41. Your deck has to be 50 cards total. 41 in the Alchemy deck, and you can have up to 9 in the Akora deck. If you only have like 2 stage 1s, a stage 2, and 3 stage 3s, that's totally fine. But the Akora must match. You need to have 3 of stage 1, 3 of stage 2, and 3 of stage 3. The reason for having the multiples is in the game of Akora, if you cannot call forth your Akora, you will immediately lose the game. Either you have to knock your opponent's Alchemist Essence to 0, or they will not be able to summon an Akora. We won't get into those. We'll get into those in another video. But now we'll go into the alchemy cards. There are 4 different type of alchemy cards right now that we have. The first one is called the Battle Zone. Now, the Battle Zones, their first effect, they all do the same. Let's get focused. Your Akora gains 100 attack power for each whatever attribute you're using relic shard that you have in play. All of these will have a second effect from the Spellbound Wings. And the new Warped Crusaders, the effects are different. Now, keep in mind, if you are running 2 different Battle Zone cards, like let's say the Demon Gate, or you are running the Warped Crusaders equivalent to the Battle Zone card, as long as this is on the field, you cannot destroy it to bring out your other Battle Zone card. These, like the rest of your alchemy cards, once you have them in the zones, unless your opponent or you destroys them via card effect, you will not be able to remove them from the field. So you have to be careful. You only get 4 zones. There are multiple decks where you can clog yourself, and in the game of Akora, in order to use an alchemy card, it must remain on the field until its effect resolves. So now we'll go into some of the other ones. This here, you look down at the very bottom. This is called an Eternity card. Once you play this card, you can play it in any one of the zones. Once you play this card will stay on the field at all times until it gets destroyed. So remember that. You got to make sure that is something that you can use consistently without clogging yourself up. Next up, we have the Flash cards. That's just a lightning bolt in the bottom. Now, there are different types of Flash cards. A card like this says play or flip this card, okay? Play means to play it straight face up, or flip it is it's set on the field, you flip it up. Now, unlike other TCGs, the way that these Flash cards work is, unless it specifies play or flip, you will have to set the Flash card first, and then you can activate it on the same turn. You don't have to wait a full turn like in the other TCGs. This is called an armament. You see that little Spartan helmet? You'll know that that is an equip card. It'll also say equip only to blah blah blah, or equip to blah blah blah. Now with these here, you have to remember, in the game of Akora, if I have a Darkness Within equipped to my Syriza, I cannot equip her with another Darkness Within. Unlike other TCGs, with Akora, you can have 3 different armaments or 4 different armaments equipped to the Akora, but they cannot have the same name as the other one. Now, we'll go ahead and we'll just use this as a base hand, okay? So the first things first, you always, before you start the game, you need to have 1 relic shard on the field automatically, and you need to have your Akora up. Let's assume that we have the 9 cards in the Akora deck and the 40 cards that are left in the Alchemy deck. You will start off, you will shuffle your deck, have your opponent cut it just out of courtesy. You will start with 5 cards in your hand. Now, just like other TCGs, you cannot attack on your first turn, you cannot draw on your first turn. Unlike other TCGs, let's say, yeah, we won't go down, but unlike other TCGs, you can mulligan up to 2 cards. So let's say you have your hand and you have, let's say these 2 are late game cards, or like just this one's a late game card, but you can use the rest of the cards. You will go ahead and you will shuffle this back into the alchemy deck. You will recut the deck and then you will draw yourself however many cards that you had mulliganed. Once you do your first mulligan, you cannot mulligan anymore. You are locked into that hand. You shake hands with your opponent, wish him good luck, good game, however you guys want to do it. The game will begin now. So let's say it's our turn, and let's say we have a Dark Relic Shard. Because it is our turn, and we have not played one this turn, we will go ahead and play a Dark Relic Shard. Let's say we have 2 Alchemy cards that we can put face down. Our opponent doesn't know what they are. Double check, see if there's anything else you can do. If there's nothing else that you can do, you will end your turn. And like other TCGs, it'll go to your opponent. Your opponent will draw themselves a card and they have a chance to attack. We will go into more detail on the specific types of flashcards and what the responses are in another video. But hopefully you guys understand the basics of Akora. Welcome to Akora Academy, and if you have any questions, you can go ahead and comment down below, or you can message me at StitchyStitch on Discord. You can also visit my website, artofduel.com, where you can pre-order, purchase, or we also have a members forum. It's free to sign up to the website. You sign up, we can communicate, you can ask questions, or you can also visit the Akora official Discord. You can go ahead and message me here, drop a comment down below, and I can go ahead and send you the link so that you can join the Discord. In that community, we've got giveaways, we've got very helpful people, a lot of helpful people that will help you to understand the game better. If you have any questions, we have specific areas that you can ask those questions, and you will get fast responses. Typically, you can get them within 5 to 10 minutes, depending on who is online. But again, if you have any more questions, you can either ask me in the comment section down below, or shout out to me, and I will send you the Discord. I'll send you the Discord invite. But everybody, I hope you guys enjoyed this basic how to play Akora video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned because we will have more content coming.